Hey everybody, Tracy Brown here, and I just want to share with you a Black History moment right here on the New Thought Media Network. George Dawson is one of those people who I think of as one of my heroes, but I've never met him. George Dawson is quoted as saying, "Ever since I turned 100, life has been busy." So apparently, obviously, George Dawson lived to be well over 100 years old. And his story and the stories he tells about his life are chronicled in a book titled Life is So Good. Life is So Good by George Dawson. So here's the really short story, and I cannot emphasize enough how easy this book is to read, how fascinating this book is to read, and how important this book is to read. He was born in 1898 in Marshall, Texas, and his grandparents were slaves, but he never learned to read. By the age of 10, he was putting out as much work on the farm and in the community, the rural community outside of Marshall, Texas, as many grown men. And he was, and that's what he did his whole life. His whole life, he worked. He worked, he was a sharecropper. He earned his keep, and when he got to be older and couldn't work anymore, he had a very, 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 very simple life. But he was happy. He was not caught up in all of the capitalism. He was not caught up in all of the imagery. But think about it. He was born in 1898. And so he lived through World War I. He lived through the Spanish flu epidemics. He lived through the Depression. He lived through World War II. He lived through the Korean War. He lived through the Civil Rights Movement. And he had an amazing life. And when he was 89 years old, he decided to learn to read. No, let me correct myself, and let me actually read it and get it right this time. At 98, George decided to learn to read and enrolled in a literacy program, becoming a celebrated student. Quote, "Every morning I get up and I wonder what I might learn that day. You just never know." So here is someone who at 98 years old, not 89, 98 years old, learned to read. I love this sentence about him. As a boy, George had to go to work to help support the family. And so he did not attend school or learn to read. Yet he describes how he learned to read the world and survive in it. Quote, "We make our own way," he says. "Trouble is out there, but a person can leave it alone and just do the right thing. Then, if trouble still finds you, you've done the best you can." And the first story in the book is about trouble finding a young Black man in the town of Marshall who then was lynched for something he did not do, but he had been accused of, and how George Dawson, at the age of 10, began to learn some of the really hard lessons of life, including there may be trouble and you still have the ability to choose how you navigate it. It's very much like what we teach in Science of Mind and in New Thought. We don't control every condition we find ourselves experiencing, but what we do have control over is how we navigate it, how we position ourselves in it, and how we treat and move our feet, or how we choose to navigate that in the world which is not of our desires. George Dawson, Life is So Good. I highly, highly recommend it as this Black History moment. My name is Tracy Brown, and please enjoy all the Black History moments during the month of February 2024, right here on the New Thought Media Network.